Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of CyberSafe News and Views. My name is Lee Frazier and I'll be your guide. This afternoon, this is a special edition of CyberSafe News and Views. We're only going to be doing the views. We'll be doing the news later this week, so stay tuned for that. But this week, our topic is in episode number 10, employee termination. What do you need to do? What do you need to be concerned about? And I'm thinking completely about this topic from a security point of view. Whether an employee leaves you or you tell them that they are no longer welcome to work for you, that's up to you. You may have regulatory HR things. We're not talking about those types of topics, truly talking about what are the things we need to be concerned with? What are the things they might have had access to? And what do we need to do to get those things back to being secure? So I've got a list here. It's probably not exactly 10 things, but the top 10 things that you need to be concerned about. And really the first thing is when an employee leaves you, whether it's family member or not, there's still certain security aspects that you need to be concerned about. But really the first is removing them from all applications that they had access to that were special to your practice. So your small business. So on this first one, if you run an insurance business and, hey, they had access to my database, your Rolodex, or they had access to Outlook, which contains every email I've ever sent and my entire contact list, getting that access gone. So that's really number one. Now, how do we do that? That might be that we need to disable their access from Outlook, which could be if you use Outlook.com, could be there. If they have a username that's part of your practice. So just think of their first name dot last name at yoursmallbusinessname.com. We probably want to turn that off. If they have a Microsoft 365 subscription, you want to turn that off. One, it'll save you money, and two, it'll disable a lot of their access right there. But also thinking about cloud software. Hey, I do quotes in this system. If you're an insurance salesperson or realtor or whatever, I use the web page for my business through somebody else that provides a service to you. You want to get their access gone from that because that's the worst case. They've got a valid user, valid password, and they can do that wherever they are. So you want to disable that cloud access to any tool. So go through your mind before this happens, please, before it happens, and think about, hey, what do my employees have access to? What do I need to be concerned about removing from that? If I can remove it from the application or if it's some other source of data. Also, number two on that one is remove it from the machines that you use in your practice, small business, what have you. If they have a username and logon to your small business, you need to make sure that gets removed. Now, I mentioned that one removed. It could be and certain Windows platforms. I'm only going to talk about Windows. It could be Linux. It could be other platforms as well. Mac, similar. But you want to either delete or disable the account. And it's going to ask you, if it asks you to delete the account, it's going to ask you eventually as you get in there, hey, do you want to delete their data? No, you don't. You never know when there was a document that they were working on that they had access to, that they wrote for you, that one day you're going to go, oh yeah, I need that. So don't delete their data. Then you can always go back, review that at a later time. So make sure you remove their access from the physical hardware that you have in your office. Also, was there any hardware that they needed to return? Did you assign them a laptop, a work from home device? Do they need to return that? Can you wipe it remotely? Is there data that's proprietary to you, your business, or that is some regulatory compliance that you need to be concerned about? Think about these things. I know in my business, we assign out a laptop and sometimes a desktop workstation for all my employees. Now, those may not always be something that I want to have returned, but I have the capability of wiping those devices if in the chance that someone wants to keep the device, I no longer find it valuable, I can still secure all of my data from that device. So think about those things, whether they have to return that hardware, how you're going to wipe it, or make sure your data is secure. So I think I'm on 4. This one gets personal. Do they have access to your bank account? Do they know your password? Do they know your login to Facebook, eBay, Amazon, Walmart, whatever? You may need to change those passwords. But hopefully, you've got multi-factor authentication turned on, which they would not have access to, because multi-factor, as we've talked about in other videos, would give you a text to your phone, or you'd open up an authenticator app that once you tried to log in, that it would say, hey, are you trying to log in? You can either say, oh yeah, that's me, or that's not me. Just as a reminder, then change your password. I have one of those passwords actually on my Amazon account. It's been exposed, it's been found out, and I'm not changing it because I have multi-factor turned on. Now, is that always the best practice? No, you probably should change it, but I know that my device in my access is secure. So keep that list. It gets rather personal. What did they have access to? What did they know about you? Are you bad with passwords? So they had everything? You're probably going to want to change your passwords for everything. And that gets complex. But yeah, definitely don't let them just wipe out your bank account. Now, would they? I'm sure they wouldn't do it, but verify. Change the password so that they're not tempted. People are human. Keep that secure. Change your passwords if they know them. Use a password manager to do that, by the way. RoboForm is the tool that I use. I don't get a kickback from them. I just like the tool. So I think we're on 6. I can't count when I'm on camera. So what about their mobile phone? Does it have data? Is it on your Wi-Fi? Were they doing anything for you on that mobile phone? Keep that in your thought process as well. What do I need to do? They might, if you're part of a medical practice, they might take photos. Chiropractor might take posture photos with your phone. You need to have a plan to get those off of there and make sure you are secure. If you're taking photos of patients or patient data, you need to have a plan before they quit or you fire someone. What about Wi-Fi? You need to change your Wi-Fi password. If they left your office and they are no longer happy with you, now, of course, everyone's happy with you and no one would ever have a problem with you. But if they did and they have access to your Wi-Fi, then they can get on their phone from your parking lot, get on your Wi-Fi, and whatever they had access to before on your network, they're going to have access to from the parking lot. You don't want that to happen. And it doesn't have to be your mobile phone. Could be that they brought in a laptop. Hey, doc, or hey, boss, what's the password for the Wi-Fi so that I can, do a little homework on my laptop here. I'm taking a college course. Suddenly they're on your network, which is great while you are friends and everything's working out fine. But when you're no longer employing them, relationships tend to sour. Let's just be real and let's change our Wi-Fi password so that they no longer can get on there and you have a secure network again. So also keep in mind, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, that if you have any compliance regulations, if you're HIPAA, you have PCI, you have whatever it may be. Remind them of their obligation to keep your data safe, or that anything they may have or may leave your employee with still is under those obligations. For example, again, if they're doing anything with their own personal phone or their personal laptop, great. They walk out with all that information. You didn't think about it. Remind them to say, yeah, that's still under HIPAA. That's still under PCI. You, heaven forbid, you were taking pictures of credit cards or patient data for whatever reason. I don't want to know, but remind them as they're leaving or after they've left of their obligation to keep that data private, secure, and possibly that you want them to delete it if you don't have another method for them to be able to do that. So remind them of that obligation, and keep them aware of that. Put that back in front of them. Also, building access. Do they have a key to your building? Do they have a code that they can just walk up and press it's an 8-digit code. It's really secure. Great. But now someone that doesn't work here has your code. So let's change the password for the building. Ask them for their key back if you don't want to rekey the locks. Let's make sure that they can't actually get physical access to the building. So those are my tips and tricks for what you need to think about. Hey, if I mentioned something that you didn't think about, leave me a comment down below. Or if I left something out that you thought about, hey, stupid, don't call me stupid. But anyway, I don't care. You forgot, great, I'll add it to my list. So those are the top things that you need to be concerned about. And really, your situation may be unique. You may have something else. You may have an additional hardware device, or it's just something, multiple offices, multiple locations. I don't even know. They may have had a key to your safe, or a safe deposit box. Or think about your exact situation and make a list. Write everything down before you need it, because once you need it, now relationships are strained. They're not going to give you the access or the thing that you want back, and just things are bad overall. If you need help with any of this and say, hey, I'm gonna be, or yeah, I need to, leave us a comment down below. Always happy to help. If this list was enough to get you thinking about it, but hey, I need more help, leave me another comment and I will reach out to everyone. Happy to help in any way we can. We look forward to seeing you on the next CyberSafe News and Views, where we will also talk about the news of the past week. So until then, stay cyber safe, and we'll see you next time.